I know it's 5:30, but we're going to give a couple minutes, see if we get another board member or two to show up. Is that appropriate? Okay. All right, Julia, should we go ahead and go? All right, it's 5:30. If we get more board members, then we'll just continue on with that. I do want to, before I do introductions and start officially get going on the agenda, so the people who are on the docket tonight, because we've only got 4 members here, just to let you know that whatever's before us, the 4 of us will have to vote yay for it to pass. So if you have an opportunity, because there is only 4 of us, if you'd like to hold and wait for the next meeting and more members, that's fine. Just let staff and us know, I guess right now. If not, we'll just move forward. So. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting for Thursday, July 17th. I'll start with staff introductions. In front of me, I've got Julia Crane, our planning director. I've got Aiden, one of our planners. Joella, also one of our planners. I've got JD over there at the computer, and Becky was in and out. I don't know if she'll be back or not, but. And then up here on the board to my left, I got Garrett, Justin, and Mike. Yes. Without the name tags, I'm struggling. So, and I'm Stephen Coe. I'm sitting in as the chair this time. Our long-standing chair, David Wing, retired from this position last month. So, with that, should we go ahead and get going on stuff, Julia? Okay. The first thing before us today is Special Use Permit 2510. We start with a staff presentation. Does staff have a presentation today?
It's okay, I can just stand up and do it. This one's working though. It's okay. We'll just stand up. We'll improvise. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This application is for special use 25-10. This is an application by Xerox Investment LLC. Ben Marcus is the representative for T-Mobile, and the proposal is to co-locate additional wireless antennas and ancillary equipment onto an existing wireless communication tower, a 16-foot tower height increase, along with a fenced 10-foot by 15-foot ground equipment area with an 8 by 12-foot equipment pad, ice canopy, equipment cabinet, and ancillary equipment, along with a cable bridge for equipment around the tower. The location is at 2929 Harrison Avenue. It's on the same property as the Super 8 Motel, up in the northwest corner of Bush and Sampson Street, and it is located in a community commercial or C2 zone. This is just a display of the existing tower. In the red is pointing to what is existing, and then above that is the 16-foot addition with the additional equipment that would be added for T-Mobile. This is a site plan of the ground equipment. It's showing the T-Mobile ice bridge as well as the 10 by 15 expansion pad that would be to the south of the existing pads. Staff findings. Public service and utility buildings are recognized as special uses allowed in any zoning district, provided that the prescribed use is in harmony with the other uses permitted in the zone and not found to be contrary to public interest per Butte-Silver Municipal Code 1738-180. Planning staff was able to locate a special use permit number 22-3 from a previous expansion that was done by Dish Mobile. Due to the nature of expansion of the base as well as the height increase, the project does require review of this criteria. The Zoning Board of Adjustments will review the physical conditions of the location, the conduct and operation of the proposed use, and whether the combination of these factors is compatible with the proposed site and surrounding area. To provide the board with information about the proposed special use, the applicant and planning staff have responded to the established 20 questions. Again, this is in the C2 zone. As you can see, to the west is an R2 zone. We are in the C2 zone. Just to the southeast is a C3 zone, and to the northeast is open space developers. Here's an aerial view of the surrounding area. Where the red arrow is the location of the tower that's already existing. You've got a church across the street, residential to the west, and then to the north, south, and east are all commercial properties. Again, just a photo of the existing tower. The location, character, and natural features of the property. It is located on the corner of Bush and Sampson Street, which is surrounded by surrounded properties of this cell tower consist of both residential and commercial. The property is located within a few blocks of the freeway. The location, character, and natural features of the property will not be significantly altered compared to the original installation, except for the proposed 10 by 15 expansion of the base and the 16-foot height increase. The proposal entails encroachment into 1 or 2 additional parking spaces for Super 8 Hotel. Substantial changes that have occurred in the surrounding land use since the original adoption of the ordinance. There have been no substantial changes in the surrounding land use. The property in question has been used as a motel or hotel since the 1980s. The properties west of Bush Street have historically held residential use, bordered by commercial to the east, south, and north. Proposed fencing, screening, and landscaping. The permit issued in 2022, number 22-3, was granted an expansion of the monopole, and one of the conditions of approval required the applicant to maintain the property in a neat and orderly fashion and not defeat the purpose of effectiveness of the existing screening and landscaping. The existing screening and landscaping will help minimize potential visual and aesthetic impacts, particularly due to the site's partial visibility from surrounding commercial and residential areas. Proposed vehicle access, circulation, and parking, including that related to bicycles and other unpowered vehicles, and provisions for handicapped persons. The proposed 10 by 15 expansion of the monopole base will result in 1 to 2 parking spaces in the rear northwest corner of the Super 8 motel parking lot. This adjustment occurs within the area currently used for parking, but is not anticipated to reduce the parking below what is functionally required to the motel's operation. To ensure compliance with parking requirements and minimize potential impacts on the motel operations and guest parking, staff would recommend a condition of approval be placed on the applicant, requiring the applicant to coordinate with the Super 8 motel to confirm minimal required parking spaces are maintained. Verification will need to include a site plan showing striping and parking counts, confirmation from the motel owner or manager that eliminated spaces will not impact the hotel required parking. In addition, parking areas shall be restriped as needed to ensure compliance with section 1740-900 off-street parking, table of minimum standards of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code. This is a photo that was taken this week of the parking lot. It's standing in the looking southeast, standing in the northwest corner. Proposed signs and lighting. There are no proposed signs other than a small placard on the proposed fence area identifying the area as T-Mobile, as well as any required FCC notices. The applicant did state that required Federal Communication Commission notices and T-Mobile identification placards would be permitted or would be placed, and they would also be permitted required signage for the monopole. Lighting would consist of 2 small LED work lights on timers for technicians to work on ground equipment. The only additional lighting would be if the FAA required it. All potential nuisances. An existing wireless communication tower is currently located on the site. This review addresses only the impacts of co-locating additional T-Mobile antennas and expanding the base by 150 square feet to accommodate the necessary equipment and improvements related to the co-location. There should be no additional nuisances associated with the proposal, except during the construction phase. There may be some short-term effects related to regular commercial construction. Public safety and health. T-Mobile Wireless is obligated to operate under regulations and standards of the FCC. The proposed co-location is expected to provide public benefits, including the expansion of enhanced 911 service coverage and improved consumer access to wireless communications, which are essential for both emergency response and everyday connectivity. Construction and installation safety procedures shall be followed at the time of construction and installation. That the use or zone classification sought would enhance and promote the comprehensive development of the immediate neighborhood and community. The 2020 Butte-Silver Comprehensive Plan lists an implementation strategy for enhancing connectivity for residents and businesses by expanding the broadband network countywide. Keeping Butte up to date with national wireless technology and business operations may be important in promoting the future stability and development of the community, and this proposal will be utilizing an existing facility to support growth. The location of this particular property is the comprehensive plan place type is the transportation gateway. As this is an existing use and permitted use in any zone by special use permit, this proposal is consistent with the objectives of the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan also emphasizes growing wisely into the future by using what exists today to support growth. Co-locating new T-Mobile wireless antennas onto an existing monopole makes use of existing infrastructure to improve wireless technology and bandwidth throughout the community. That the new use meets the overall density, yard height, and other requirements of the zone in which it is located. The proposed project includes a 16-foot increase in the height of the existing monopole, which the applicant has stated will be compliant with the federal section 6409 section A regulations, allowing for height increase of up to 20 feet. The applicant has stated that the height extension is necessary to functionally support new carrier antennas and equipment. The proposal includes a 10 by 15 expansion of the base to accommodate essential equipment and improvements for this project. This expansion is addressed in the report and shall be reviewed and considered by the board. That the use or classification will not adversely affect nearby properties or their occupants. This application does not entail any changes of use at the site and is proposed on an existing wireless facility. The base increase is screened by existing fencing and landscaping from adjacent residential uses across Bush and Sampson. Staff doesn't anticipate any significant impacts to the appearance or general characters of the neighborhood. Some of the conditions of approval that staff have feel that should be implemented. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall receive approval from the FAA that the construction and site plan meet all applicable code and height requirements. Prior to receiving approval to connect power to the equipment, the applicant shall purchase all necessary permits from Butte-Silver Building Department. The applicant shall maintain the property in a neat and orderly fashion and not defeat the purpose of effectiveness of the existing screening and landscaping. Prior to receiving any approval, the applicant shall be required to coordinate with Super 8 Motel to confirm that minimum required parking spaces are maintained, and verification shall include a site plan showing the striping and parking counts, written confirmation from the motel owner or manager that eliminated spaces will not impact the hotel's required parking. In addition, parking areas shall be restriped as needed to ensure compliance with section 1740-900 off-street parking table of minimum standards. And finally, any expansion required future review and approval from the Zoning Board of Adjustments. In conclusion, based on the information provided in the application, staff's analysis of the review criteria and any public opinion as it relates to the criteria, the board must determine if the applicants have presented evidence to the satisfaction of the board that said undue detriment will not result from the granting of a special use permit for these alterations to existing wireless communication monopole at 2929 Harrison Avenue. Section 1738-160, special or conditional use permit. Decision of the board requires staff to refer to the application to the board within 15 days of receipt of the application, and all requested information to the board shall within 60 days deny the application and give reason for the denial in writing, or approve or conditionally approve the application, and the zoning officer shall issue a zoning compliance permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Joella. Does any of the board members have questions of staff? Okay. Next is if we could see, or any of the representatives for this project. Are they here today? Can you come up and tell your story? And state your name first and who you're with, and
Hi, my name is Tanner Schmitz, and I am with Network Connects. We're the vendor that is representing T-Mobile on this project here in Butte. And so, just like Joella said, thank you so much for having us today as well. And just like Joella said here, our whole scope essentially is to utilize existing infrastructure that is within the area to minimally impact visual impacts with this new site. And so with this area is needing a new wireless facility for the T-Mobile network, as well as our customer base grows. And so essentially this was one of our top picks, just because from our perspective, it's existing. It works better for us to go on an existing site as well, and trying to minimally impact the surrounding areas. And this area, particularly since it's commercially zoned, is also why we are interested in expanding at this location, with the whole goal of not having to erect a whole new structure altogether.
thank you. Does board members have any questions of the applicant at this time? I guess my one question would be is you've looked over the conditions of the application, or the conditional uses?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we actually, before I got here to Butte today, just wanted to go out and verify how much parking might actually get taken up there, and can confidently say that there's 70 to 74 parking spaces as is right now. And so can say basically that our new compound layout would be minimally impacting the existing parking that is available there. And there does appear to be some overflow parking if there happen to be more guests in town as well that needed to utilize it.
Okay. Yeah, there were specific requirements within the conditions related to parking, so.
Yes.
And you have reviewed them, and,
Yep.
okay.
So,
Perfect.
yep, I did see, striping was a requirement as well. Definitely just, from looking at it there, it could use that as well, for guest sake as well. And so, basically, from just evaluating it, I was just trying to get a good count from it. It was hard to see it with imagery online, and so I wanted to go out there physically. And like I said, I came up with anywhere from 70 to 74 existing spaces. So minimally impacting the available parking and still meeting the requirements still.
Excellent, thank you. Yes.
How about the FAA conditions?
Yep, so part of our, regardless of what type of project we're doing, if we're doing a new site build, a modification, it's part of our due diligence to do our regulatory compliance check. And so we always go through and have an FAA review, just to make sure that if we did have to have auxiliary lighting on there, that we're in compliance with the FAA. Based on where this site is located, it should be far enough away from the existing airstrip where we do not have to add additional tower lighting. However, ultimately the FAA does determine that, and so whatever they determine, we will follow and comply with their decisions.
Great.
But at this time, we're not expecting to have to add additional lighting to the site.
Sounds good.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
All right, I probably should have led with this. We do have 60 days to make our decision. Do board members have any issue with making a decision tonight, or? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. Next step is public comment, right, Julia? Thank you. So we'll open the, you don't have to stand up there if you don't want to. We'll open the public comment portion of this. Does anybody want to make any comments in favor of this application? All right, hearing none. Does anybody want to make any comments not in favor of it, in opposition? Again, hearing none, we'll close the public portion of this application. All right, do board members want to make any discussion, or what do we think about this? My initial thoughts is this is pretty reasonable, pretty minor impact to everything. Seeing no opposition, it doesn't seem too obtrusive to me.
Yeah, members of the board, I would kind of have the same thoughts. I think it's pretty cut and dry. I think the location, I don't see any real challenges or anything with it, so I would be in support of it.
I agree with Board Member Craig that no issues here.
All right, with that, if nobody else has any comments, I'd entertain a motion on this issue in front of us.
I would make a motion to approve special use 25-10 with the conditions of approval as outlined by staff.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Go ahead and vote. All right, in the matter of special use 25-10, we have a unanimous vote for the application, so you're approved. You'll be receiving a letter soon from the planning staff to that effect with your next steps. Thank you. All right. I guess my first thing I want to do is, Julia, did I catch everything? Did I miss any steps I should have done? You did great. Okay, thank you. I know I can't see me, can you? The next item on the agenda is conditional use permit 25-2. Thank you. As before, we have, is it 60 days on this also, Julia? Okay, we have 60 days to make a decision. Does staff see any reason not to make a decision tonight on this issue? Well, not staff, I mean board members? No? All right, we'll move forward. Staff, do you have a presentation? Wait, I'm trying to catch myself here. We do have a representative for this issue here tonight? Okay, perfect. All right, Joella, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This one is for conditional use 25-2, and it pertains to Wagner's Nursery and Landscaping Company. This conditional use, the applicant is Wagner's Nursery and Landscaping, or 4W Development. The proposal is requesting approval to excavate decomposed granite, process the materials on site through a mobile screening process, and sell the granite directly to customers at Wagner's. Per requirements of section 17.830, conditional uses of the Butte-Silver Municipal Codes, it allows this type of activity as a conditional use within the R1S with an approval by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Staff findings. The subject property is located in the R1S, or One Family Suburban Residence Zone. In June of 2010, a conditional use permit, number 13180, was granted to Wegner's to operate as a garden center, which included the development of a greenhouse retail structure as well as a greenhouse event center. The conditional process provides for review of public input and measures of the potential impact of the proposed use on the surrounding neighborhood and compatibility of the proposed use with the adjoining neighborhoods. The zoning ordinance states that removal and dumping of sod, soil, rock, oil, minerals, or similar materials for the purpose of sale, fill, building, or other construction usages off the premises for which removed may be allowed by a conditional use permit from the zoning commission, provided that after public hearing, the commission finds the removal and the operation connected therewithin will not be unduly detrimental to surrounding properties because of dust, smoke, noise, hazard, or similar objectable factors, nor will it jeopardize the probable potential use of the site. To provide the board with information about the proposed conditional use, the applicant and planning staff have responded to the questions outlined herein. Excuse me. This is the area where Wegner's is located. It is out in the R1S, just west of Interstate 90. Here's another overhead view of Wegner's here. This is a site plan and a permit boundary of where the open mining would occur. The location, character of the property, and the surrounding buildings. The property in question is located in the R1S and is on 30.10 acres, containing a commercial greenhouse and a shop. The parcel is adjacent to Interstate 90 to the east, Continental Drive to the west, single-family residential to the north-south. The site slopes from west to east, consistent with the area's natural topography. In June of 2010, a conditional use permit was granted to Wegner's landscaping company to operate a nursery and event center on this parcel. Substantial changes in the neighborhood. There have been no significant land use changes in the immediate neighborhood since the zoning ordinance in 1978. However, the Buffalo Estates subdivision was developed in the south area and granted the property directly to the south was granted an open cut permit number 1816. And there is no known neighborhood plan for this area. Proposed fencing, screening, and landscaping. Currently, a rail fence is installed along the Holiday Drive frontage near the entrance, and the remaining of the property boundaries along Continental to the west, north, and east, on the rear sides are enclosed with a wire mesh fence. There is no additional fencing planned for this proposed project. Proposed signs and lighting. The applicant has stated that no artificial lighting will be utilized to conduct work within the proposed open-cut mining area during dark hours. Existing site lighting will remain unchanged, and no additional lighting installation is proposed. Signage will be installed at the entrance to the property to notify all individuals that an active mine site is in operation, as required by the Mine Safety and Health Administration. Additional signage will be posted to clearly indicate restricted areas for both personnel and vehicles. Proposed vegetation, topography, and natural drainage. The applicants are not proposing any changes to the existing topography of the site. The property will remain in its natural state with native sagebrush, and no grading is planned. Adequate landscaping was provided as part of the original conditional use, and no additional landscaping is proposed with this application. Also, no additional structures are being proposed that would interfere with the property's natural drainage patterns for water flow. Vehicular access and circulation. Vehicular access to the property is from Holiday Drive. The property is accessed via gravel one-lane dirt road off of Holiday Drive. Traffic circulation is managed through a one-way drive that both enters and exit onto Holiday Drive utilizing Continental as the connection point. Parking was established under the 13180 conditional use in accordance with conditions of approval. This proposal will not include any expansion to the building or parking areas, therefore it will not increase the parking requirements. Any potential nuisances. There is a chance that there will be an increase in noise, dust, and traffic resulting from non-residential activity. However, the nursery has been in operation since 2011 under an approved conditional use. Potential impacts on the site and surrounding properties primarily include dust and noise. Staff believe that these could pose the most detriment and that best practices according to Mine Safety and Health Administration must be implemented to mitigate any potential hazards on site. And staff would recommend that in conformance with MSHA, and implementations of dust and noise mitigation be required as conditions of approval. The use conforms to objectives of the comprehensive plan and purpose of the ordinance. The comprehensive plan place type designation for this property is the suburban residential. These place types prioritize detached single-family dwelling types while also allowing for 2 and 3 family units that meet the scale and design character of established neighborhoods. Suburban residential neighborhoods generally range from 1 to 5 acres, have paved curvilinear road networks, and are in close proximity to open space, recreation, schools, and suburban amenities. Some general land use includes community centers, places of worship, schools, and educational facilities, parks, trails, and recreation opportunities. In the 2020 comprehensive plan, some land use opportunities listed are better integration and neighborhood parks and trail systems, potential reduction or elimination of single-family only development densities, and staff does believe that the proposed use is in compliance with the land use objectives and compatibility with the comprehensive place type. The proposed use will not adversely affect nearby properties or their occupants. The property has been operated as a garden center and event center since 2011. In accordance with Conditional Use Permit 13180, the applicant states that the operation of open cut mining will be located away from the neighboring residential properties to minimize potential impacts. Sight and sound berms will continue to be utilized along roadways, and excavation will not be conducted during night hours. The proposed use meets the overall density, yard, height, and other requirements of the zone. This parcel, again, was granted the conditional use permit in 2010 to allow for operations of a garden center and event center. This proposal will not change the use of the property, nor will the density, yard, or height be modified. The applicant has stated that approximately 8 feet of material will be removed through the life of the project, but will be regraded and back to its natural slope upon completion of the excavation activities. Any future expansion of the building footprint or construction of additional buildings shall be required to meet the development standards of the zone. Some of the conditions of approval. The applicant is required to follow all Montana DEQ permitting requirements and all Montana Mining Safety and Health Administration requirements. The applicant would also be required to apply for the Butte-Silver bow excavation and dirt moving permit to ensure sampling of excavated materials to prevent possible migration of potential contaminants of concern. Also, the applicant shall be required to rehabilitate the excavation by refilling, recontouring, replacing subsoil and topsoil, planting ground cover to assure the elimination of such hazards and detriment. The applicant would be required to bond for the cost of the rehabilitation in the amount of 110%. They would be required to meet all building, fire, and zoning codes. They shall be required to perform dust mitigation during screening processes. The applicant would also be restricted to the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. This is to help minimize noise impacts on adjacent residents. Also, they would be limited specifically to the business as stated and approved. Any future business expansion, changes in the business, or building expansion will require further review by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Thank you. Sorry, conclusion. Again, this is the same as the conclusion of the previous report. Based on the information provided, the application, staff's analysis of the review criteria, any public opinion as it relates to the criteria, the board must determine if the applicant has presented evidence to the satisfaction of the board that said undue detriment will not result from the granting of a conditional use permit for this open cut mining permit. Section 1738, 160, special or conditional use permits. Decision of the board requires staff to refer the application to the board within 15 days of receipt of the application and all requested information. The board shall within 60 days deny the application in writing or approve the application and issue a zoning compliance permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Joella. Do board members have any questions of staff at this time? I do have one of you, staff or Joella or whoever. One of the conditions was requiring bonding. The DEQ open cut will also require bonding. Is this in addition to, is this two bondings for the applicant, or will one for both be adequate?
So typically with any construction or building, we require a landscaping bond in the form of 110%.
Okay.
So it would be basically to ensure that they are putting the property back and the landscaping remains intact that was originally approved from the conditional use permit 13180.
Okay.
Also, one more thing. We did receive a letter from a Jocelyn Dodge as a proponent. I think you guys all received that letter, so I'm not going to read it, but that is on file as well, so I just want that noted.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joella. And the applicant, would you come forward and state your name and tell us about your project?
Ruby Anderson. I'm the manager at Wagner Nursery. Appreciate you taking time to listen to our application. What we'll be doing is, as Joelle pointed out, we'll be excavating some decomposed granite, and we'll be putting it through a mobile screener, and we'll be selling it to the public. We'll just be taking it off, yes, the north end of our property. As far as that goes, and it's not, the piece of property is not exposed as far as along Continental Drive for making like a bad looking scenario that way.
Excellent. Have you had a chance to review the conditions that were
Yes.
presented today, and you're okay with everything that was
Yes.
stated? Okay.
We were just kind of the same question you brought up with the 110%. Do we have to do that twice, I guess, as far as for the DEQ and then also for the county? So that would be 2 bonds. Okay, just so we're clear on that, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, my question, knowing your familiarity with the DEQ permitting process, is the bonding that is required by DEQ with an open cut permit relevant to the requirements for reclamation upon completion and closure, or what is the focus of that particular bond?
So the focus of that bond is to essentially turn the land to more or less the way it started out. So you would reslope to the same contours and reseed with a same seed mix that would, be comparable to what is existing there. I think the only difference in that is their bonding is calculated, I think, at 100%, and you're at 110. So.
Mr. Chairman, in the, with the intention to not be overly burdensome to the applicant in their surety commitment to both the state and the local government, should the state's bonding requirements cover the requirements we expressed in our staff report, staff would be agreeable to the board considering an amendment to the staff's presented conditions for additional bonding to the local government.
So just for my clarification, you'd be willing to accept the DEQ bonding to cover this for the reclamation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's the interest of our staff that the reclamation, the recontouring slope and topography and then reseeding be completed at the end in accordance with the excavation and dirt moving protocols. And as far as the open cut permit achieving those goals, we would be amenable to seeing just proof of that bond being posted to the state.
Is that amenable to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any, I guess, does the board have any questions of the applicant at this time? Okay. All right. You can sit down or
thank
stay up, whatever you want to do, but we don't need you to stand up there. So at this time, we'll open up for public comment. As Joella stated, we have one email comment in from Ms. Jocelyn Dodge in favor of this, so we'll log that as a favorable comment for this. Do we have any other comments in favor? All right, seeing none, do we have any public comments in opposition of this application? All right, seeing none, we'll close this, the public hearing, and we'll open up for board discussion on this issue. Looks like you guys did so good that the board doesn't have anything else to say. So with that, I'd entertain a motion on this issue.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a move to approve. Do we have a second?
I'd second it with the conditions of approval as outlined.
Yep, as discussed during the, okay. Agreed. All right. All right, all 4 votes were for the project. You're approved through us. So good luck with your project, and you'll receive a letter to this effect from staff soon. All right, the next thing on the agenda, item C, is variance 25-5. Aiden, do you have a presentation? Well, I guess we don't have any issue moving forward today on this? Seeing none, we'll move forward.
Good.
As soon as Joella's done, we'll let you go, Aiden. How's that?
That sounds good.
Go ahead, Aiden.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is variance 25-5 for 224 American Drive. The applicant is Christopher Ingram. The proposal is to locate a garage within 10 feet of the side yard boundary, varying from provisions outlined in the Butte-Silver Municipal Code 17880, I believe that should say, in the R1S minimum side yard width. In the code for the R1S minimum side yard width, it requires detached accessory structures to be built no closer to the side property boundaries than 15 feet. The applicant is seeking approval to construct a 1,200 square foot detached garage within 10 feet of the southeast property boundary. The R1S zoning district allows for detached accessory structures so long as they meet zoning and building code requirements. This zone has no lot coverage requirements. The surrounding character of the existing neighborhood is residential. The proposed development is within the suburban residential place type of the comprehensive plan. This place type prioritizes single-family dwellings on larger lot sizes. Here is an aerial view of our zoning map of the parcel. As you can see, it is fully surrounded within the R1S zone. Here is another aerial imagery of the property. So a variance must not be contrary to the public interest. Zoning districts are designed to complement one another and promote cohesive development for neighborhood aesthetic, density, and compatibility of uses. Setback requirements were established to protect the public interest by providing for sufficient space around structures for emergency access and assuring the availability of sufficient air and light to property owners. Detached garages are permitted in the R1S zoning district. The subject property and surrounding neighborhood are characterized by low-density residential development, specifically one dwelling unit per acre or less dense. It is not uncommon for a residential dwelling to have a detached accessory structure in this area. With a 5-foot reduction to the side yard setback, it is possible for a distance of 25 feet, which would separate the proposed build and any future development on the adjoining lot to the south rather than the expected distance of 30 feet. However, this should not considerably impact the amount of air and light available from what is normally expected of this zone. The proposed build is a permitted use in the zone and does not impede on the prevailing character of the existing neighborhood. It is likely the development would not be contrary to the public interest. Literal enforcement of the provisions of the title will result in unnecessary hardship. So unnecessary hardship as defined by the Montana Supreme Court must result from a condition unique to the property, such as a peculiar property shape, topographical feature, or geological trait. The hardship may not result from a condition created by the applicant. When the single-family dwelling was originally constructed, a specific location was deemed accessible for the installation of the septic system. This location is south of the home, ultimately north of the proposed garage, which would then lie in between the two structures. Due to this placement, the garage cannot be built any closer to the home in case of any future repairs or alterations to the system. There is also a creek that runs from the northwest corner to the middle of the southeast property boundary, which would be located behind the proposed build. Due to the creek's location, the proposal cannot be located any closer to that creek. And to note, the described parcel is not within a designated flood hazard area. Hardships are present due to the location of the septic system, the creek, and the overall topography of the land. It may be reasonable to allow for a reduction in the side yard setback from 15 feet to 10 feet on one side. Here are some pictures of the parcel to better visualize these hardships. This would be that property boundary where we are asking for a reduction of 5 feet. It greatly slopes over to this side. Back here, there's another slope. This would be behind the proposed build where the creek runs. Here's another image. This is the house. Right in this area is where that septic system is located. Here's another kind of closer view. So that septic system would be in this area, which is why they don't want to build the garage any closer. The spirit of the zoning ordinance shall be observed and substantial justice be done. It appears that the public health, safety, and general welfare of surrounding property owners may not be impacted by the applicant's request to locate a detached accessory structure within 10 feet of the side property boundary. It would appear literal interpretation of the provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other tracts in the same district because the proposal is consistent with neighboring development. Many parcels within this area have detached garages but do not have the geographical or structural limitations this parcel features. Approving the variance would not grant the applicant special privilege that is denied by this chapter to other adjoining landowners. The R1S zoning district allows for accessory structures and has no lot coverage requirements. Any property owner within this zone has the option to construct a detached garage, being that there is an existing single-family dwelling on the same lot. In conclusion of this point, the variance request maintains the spirit of the zoning ordinance and meets the intent of the existing neighborhood without reasonable cause to prohibit varying from the regulations of this district. Denying the variance would be unfairly applying regulations to some property owners and not others. It appears that if the application were approved, the spirit of the zoning ordinance would not be compromised by allowing for a 5-foot reduction in the side property boundary, provided that the new development does meet all building and fire code regulations. In conclusion, the intent of zoning is to prevent incompatible land uses from impeding on others. The proposed development does not appear to be contrary to the public interest, and the parcel does bear hardships unique to the property. Granting the variance provides relief from requirements enjoyed by others in the same district. The proposal would be required to obtain the appropriate permits and meet all building code standards. Planning staff recommends to approve the variance based on written findings of fact as described in the staff report with appropriate conditions. You can choose to alternately deny the application based on findings of nonconformance or continue a public hearing, ask staff for more information, or have the applicant supply more information. And that is the conclusion of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Aiden. Does any of the board have questions of staff?
I have one,
Go ahead.
just mainly for my own education, but you discussed 2 hardships and the Montana Supreme Court's definition of a hardship. Would the septic system constitute a hardship created by the property owner?
Mr. Chairman, Member McEwen, it is possible that it could be stated that it is created by the property owner. However, through the subdivision process, the sanitation requirements that are evaluated by the Montana Department of Environmental Quality require the digging of test pits and specific geological conditions that allow for the distribution of the treated material to enter back out into the landscape and percolate into the groundwater system. And so the location of those are very specific to the unique conditions of the property. And while it could be said that the location of the house might dictate that, it really is quite precise in the science associated with the location of those systems.
Awesome. That, and I know we have the creek there, but just I wanted some clarification, so thank you.
Any other questions of staff? All right, thank you, Aiden.
Thank you.
Would the representatives come up? Applicants? State your name and tell us what you got.
My name is Chris Ingram.
I'm Mike Ingram. I'm Chris's dad.
Thank you for taking the application tonight, and thank you, Aiden, for your great presentation. She pretty much hit it right on the head. I wasn't the original owner of this house, so the septic system, so it was previous, but we had issues with that system when I bought it, after I bought it, and had to replace it with a new, and they wouldn't, the city sanitary and the person who's no longer here wouldn't budge and build to let us move it or anything like that. So with where the placement, kind of like she was describing, she described it pretty well. I'm not very familiar with it. I've learned a lot lately, but just with the hardships with the septic and you can't alter the septic with the current, where they have the permits and stuff, and the creek that was already ran through there. It was a natural spring creek with the runoff that runs out through the highway and all that stuff, so you can't really mess with that. So that's our main thing, is just that little extra 5 feet to have that space between the creek and the septic without compromising, or if something happened, we had to go in and get it fixed or something, we were able to do that in a safely manner.
I'd also like to add that the garage will be very attractive. The siding's going to match the house. The shingles are going to match the house. The overhead doors are going to match the house, so it's going to blend right in.
You board members have any questions of the applicant at this time? All right. You can stay up there or have a seat, whatever you'd like to do.
Thank you.
Yep. So this time we'll open up for public comment on this. Do we have any people here to comment in favor of this, other than the applicants? Seeing none, do we have anybody that would like to comment in opposition of this? And I'm assuming we didn't receive any comments. Okay. All right. That'll close the public session of this. Do any board members want to discuss this at all? I'll just make one comment, to reinforce what Julia said. The septic is very prescriptive in how you do it and put it into place. And since you had to use your replacement spot, that really limits you even more. Those were all approved at the same time, so in my opinion, you're definitely hitting on the hardship there. So, with that, I'd entertain a motion for this.
I'd move to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve
I'd second it.
and a second. All right, please vote. excuse me, all 4 votes are in favor of your project, so congratulations and good luck. You'll receive a letter to this effect quickly from the staff. Thank you. All right, next order on the agenda is other business. Do we have anything else we want to discuss, Julia?
Chairman Coe, we will be holding nominations and a election for a temporary chair and vice chair of the board until we hold the formal election for those positions at our regularly scheduled annual meeting, which is in January of 2026. If anyone is interested in serving in those functions, I know Heidi and Shanna are not at the meeting this evening. Feel free to make nominations or nominate yourself via email to any one of the staff, and we can bring those forward at the next meeting.
Did you insinuate that because they're not here, we should nominate them?
I do not recommend doing that, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. Any other business? No. All right, hearing none, we can adjourn this meeting and move on with our lives.